Hello everybody and welcome back to Cask and Points. Today we have a very fun blind. We are going to be blinding 4 of the best Parker's releases in the last 10 years. So Parker's, if you don't know that much about it, it is part of the Heaven Hill distillery. It's one of their top lineups. So Heaven Hill, obviously the second biggest distillery in America, putting out some of the best whiskey on the market and really of all time. And their Parker's release has kind of been their fun, funky lineup. And so they've done a lot of weird things in the last few years. They've done malt whiskeys, they've done rye whiskeys, they've done wheated bourbons, they've done heavily charred bourbons. And so today we're going to try 4 of the best releases that people really pay up on secondary markets for, that have released in the last few years, so are actually still pretty findable. And so we're going to try them here and we're going to have some fun. So I have done a Parker's review already. I did review the latest 3 releases. So that included a 14-year malt whiskey that was finished in cognac barrels, a 10-year rye whiskey, cask strength, 128.8 proof, absolutely delicious, and then Parker's Double Barrel Blend, that's a 2022 release, a blend of 13 and 15-year whiskeys. Again, absolutely amazing, 132.2 proof, and that is the bottle I have here today. And so today we're going to be blinding this Parker's Double Barrel Blend against the 3 releases before that, 2 of which are incredibly popular. We have the Heavy Char Rye. This was the 2019 release, edition 13, and it's 105 proof, it's 8 years old. I've heard is very, very good. Really curious to see if we end up liking it more than the cask strength bourbon that released in 2023. That one has a secondary market of about $425, and by far the cheapest here on this flight. The next year we have a Heavy Char Wheat. That wheat was released in 2020. It is, again, absolutely amazing. It's 122 proof here. I believe it's 11 years old, and its secondary market is about $625. Then there's the Heavily Charred Bourbon. It's 120 proof. This has a secondary market of about $800. And then the 2022 release is the Parker's Double Barrel Blend. That has a secondary market of about $675 here. So the real big 3 that people say in the last 10 years, Heavy Char Wheat, Heavy Char Bourbon, and Parker's Double Barrel Blend. We will be blinding all 3 of them here today, but we're also throwing in the Heavily Charred Rye since it was the release right before them, and I've also heard very good things. And so today we are going to have some real fun. I've been looking forward to doing this blind for quite a while, finally found the time to do it. So let's get right into it here, and let's see what the best Parker's is of the last few years. So let's start with glass number 1. Oh, that smells good. So these Parker's releases, the rye is 8 years old, but pretty much everything else here is going to have at least 10 years old in the blend. Double barrel blend, heavily charred blends, oh man. So this one to me is really, really oaky and vanilla forward. Clearly smelling like at least a heavily charred bourbon or a double barrel blend. Those 2 I've always associated with relatively similar tasting notes. You're going to have like this toasted marshmallow on them. You're going to have this really sweet vanilla on them. You're going to have this oak on them. So this should be interesting, although the base whiskeys are all very different. We have a rye, we have a wheat, we have a bourbon, and then we have a double barrel blend, which I guess is just a bourbon blend. So 2 bourbons, a wheated bourbon, and then a rye. So we'll see if we can pick them out here. But I mean, this just smells absolutely amazing here. Let's take a sip. Oh my God. This one to me is really sweet, really vanilla forward. And then on the mid and late palate, opened up into this incredible red cherry. I mean, that began with this real like dusty oak, really, really vanilla forward, almost like caramel corn forward. But then as it eases into that oakiness on the late palate, on the cherry on it, that flavor is still going. That is a medium to long finish, at least. That might even just be a long finish here. Now, I will just say, I haven't tried 3 of the 4 of these. I've tried the Parker's Double Barrel Blend here. I own this bottle, and I paid $600 at a local store here in Connecticut for it, so I actually don't regret it that much. I really think it's that good. I really think it's amazing. And so, obviously, I want to see, I mean, if it has real competition here. I will say on this one, I am definitely getting more wheated bourbon vibes. It's definitely on the sweeter end. It's definitely really honing in on that vanilla, that caramel corn, really notes that I would associate with wheated bourbons. So this could be the heavily charred wheated. Obviously, I don't know. And because I haven't had the heavily charred wheat or the heavily charred bourbon or the heavily charred rye, I can't really make that many guesses here. But man, this is amazing. Let's take a second sip. Amazing. I mean, just amazing. Yeah, that one to me is super rich. really, really dusty on the front palate here, which is interesting because this is a relatively modern whiskey. This isn't something that was distilled in the early 2000s or even the 1900s. This was distilled in probably late 2000s here. And so that dusty note on it is really interesting, something that I would associate with a really old whiskey, like a dusty 1980s, 1990s whiskey. But then it eases into this really rich cherry on it, this caramel on it. The vanilla stays throughout, the oak stays throughout. There are still really nice and pleasant tasting notes as I'm talking about this. This is a long finish whiskey. I mean, if this isn't long finish, I don't know what is. This is really staying in the mouth, those really pleasant flavors of oak, of vanilla, of cherry for 20, 30, 40 seconds, even over a minute. I mean, that is a long finish right there. That is a tough whiskey to beat. But let's go on to glass number 2. Oh, it's tough to beat glass number 1, but glass number 2 is great too. I mean, we have some seriously amazing whiskeys here. There's a reason why people really pay up for these whiskeys. I mean, you're looking at, like we said, about $625 for the wheated, $675 for the double barrel blend, $800 for the heavily charred bourbon. And I actually did find a pair of the wheated and the double barrel blend for $500 each in New York. I'll send a photo of that receipt, but that was really exciting. So these whiskeys are actually still out there, and because they aren't the rare single barrels that we do a lot of reviews on here on the channel, these are findable whiskeys, and even finding them in nature at secondary or even below secondary is still very possible here. And I actually found it in Manhattan, in the heart of Manhattan, Midtown, very, very popular location. But I think they had just dropped the price. I think they were previously $700 or $800 because I had gone in that store about 2 weeks ago and I didn't buy the Parkers. And then when I went in that time, I saw they were both marked down to $500, bought them immediately. Even with tax, they were looking at like $540 on them. No regrets. But I did end up giving that wheated bourbon to a good friend of mine. So I still haven't tried it, but today is the first time I'm trying it. But anyways, let's try this glass. So rich. Oh my god. So this one has a really rich oak and a really rich cherry and vanilla. This one to me is more toasted marshmallow forward, really more like a double oaked bourbon on this one. I mean, very reminiscent of, honestly, the double barrel blend. That's the only one I've had. This is actually very familiar to me. I don't know if this is double barrel blend. It might not be. The heavily charred bourbon can't be that different. I don't know. We'll see how different it might be. But this is very, very good here. To me, this one has a little bit of tannic oak on it towards the mid and late palate. Honestly, that finish is not as long as glass number 1 here, which I think is the wheated bourbon. Had kind of wheated bourbon notes on it, which is interesting because, I mean, all these bourbons are so popular on the markets, and you know, we spend so much money on these single barrels, and, you know, sometimes they are really, truly exceptional whiskeys, but going back to the classics, going back to good old Heaven Hill, man, they know what they're doing. Let's take a second sip. Oh, yeah. Really rich oak. If you don't like oak, you're not going to like that. And that is really, really oaky. But then you also have a ton of vanilla, maple on there, cherry on there, finish that's probably around medium length, maybe medium to long length. It's really tannic towards the late end. It almost turns into like a pepper towards the late end of there, which isn't a bad thing, but interesting. Yeah, it's actually not going to be an easy choice between glass 1 and glass 2. They're very different whiskeys, but both incredible whiskeys. Let's go on to glass number 3. Oh, interesting. It smells like a heavily charred whiskey. Oh, this is tough. Yeah, so on this one, I'm definitely getting a little bit of caramel on it, some vanilla on it as well. Almost like a rye candy note on it. Maybe this is the rye. Seagrass, coconut, sugarcane kind of thing going on this, but it's really secondary to a very heavily charred whiskey. And that char, I mean, char is probably the most prominent note on that nose. That is really interesting. Let's take a sip. I think that's the rye. That one is pretty distinctively a rye. This isn't particularly sweet. I mean, you have the really heavily charred notes on there. So your toast on there, you have your just barrel char as a tasting note on there, and you have this really, really strong oakiness on it. It's not as much rye candy on the palate, on the nose here, tons of rye candy. Smells pretty sweet, but on the palate there, didn't get a ton of sweetness on it. Definitely got darker rye notes on here. Definitely got a little bit of mintiness on there. Definitely got a little bit of herbal notes on there. It's still really, really good though. Let's take another sip. Oh yeah, I think that has to be the rye. Definitely getting a little bit more herbal on that second sip. And that's not bad. And it's in the backdrop of so much char and toast and toasted marshmallow. I mean, that's really interesting on there. Honestly, very different from the 10-year rye, but I can see why this one commands a little bit more. I think it's very unique, and it kind of is on theme with this flight. I mean, we basically have the heavily charred Parker's flight here, so that's fun. Let's go on to glass number 4. Oh, that's sweet and that's bourbony, I think. That is caramel, that's vanilla, that's cherry. Compared to glass number 2, I think glass number 2 is a bit hotter. I think glass number 2 has a really rich oak on it. This glass is actually surprisingly light. Now, by deduction here, we can determine if I think that's the wheated, I think that's the double blend, and I think that's the rye. This must be the heavily charred bourbon. And it's definitely smelling like the 120 proof that heavily charred bourbon is. But let's take a sip. Oh, that's delicious. Oh, that's really good. It's pretty similar to glass number 2, but it's a bit lighter. Honestly, I'm not totally sold on this one. And it is because I'm looking at this through the lens of this is the most expensive one in the flight. If this is the heavily charred bourbon, I don't know what any of these are. I typically don't like making predictions in these videos, but I had to make predictions. I mean, we have 4 such different whiskeys here. I wanted to see if I could really piece them together. Yeah, this one's surprisingly light. It's a bit citrusy as well. And Heaven Hill just gets citrusy sometimes. I'm not a big citrus fan on my whiskeys. I like my red fruit. I like my toasted notes. I like my toasted marshmallow. I like my vanilla. I like my oak, but citrus is just not something that I'm totally sold on. It's definitely quite a bit of citrus on this. Now, it's definitely not the most prominent note. Those toasted elements definitely the most prominent on this. But I'm not totally convinced. So let's take a second sip. I don't know about that one. It's very good. It's very good. It's really good. It's probably better than what I think is the rye. But it's not that much better. Honestly, I'm liking glass 1 and glass 2 more than that by the decent margin. This one to me is just much lighter. The finish is not as long as glass 1 or glass 2. I think it's around as long as glass 3, maybe a little bit longer. But you kind of just have those classic bourbony notes, your vanilla, your cherry, your oak, a good amount of citrus on it. The citrus is just getting more and more prominent on it. Yeah, I'm not totally sold on that one. Now, obviously, I mean, that could be the double barrel blend. I mean, that could be the wheated. I have no idea. But I'm not loving glass number 4 as much. But, okay. Those are the 4. Let's go through them one more time. Let's give some rankings. Let's give some ratings. All right. So, let's do glass number 3. I think this one is my least favorite. I think it's losing a little bit on the complexity. Let's take a sip. That's great. It's really charred though. I mean, it's really, really strong barrel char on that. Like a tobacco on that one as you really get into it. Really, really dark, rich notes on that. Some people really like that kind of whiskey. I mean, some people really love tobacco and barrel char, and that's really what they're looking for in the whiskey. And it almost tastes like you're smoking a cigar. I mean, it's really, really deep and rich. And while I'm totally good with those kinds of notes, they're not typically what I think is the best kind of whiskey. I mean, I love my fruity whiskey, my vanilla whiskey, my oaky whiskey. This to me is a really dark and rich flavor profile. The rye notes I don't think are nearly as prominent as those, which actually may mean that this is the heavily charred bourbon, because I can be convinced that this isn't a rye. I mean, this is like really borderline on this one. I think it's the rye though, but I don't know. Actually, that third sip made me think it could not be the rye. I think it's the rye, but I don't know. I'm going to guess that that's the rye. I think it's solid. I think it's great. I think for the MSRP on any of these bottles, which I think the MSRP is around $200 on most of these, all amazingly worth it. I mean, I would definitely pay multiples of all of these for $200. But for the $400 that the rye commands, I'm less convinced on that. I think that for maybe $250, $300, much more reasonable. I don't really think I like it more than the 10-year rye. I think the 10-year rye is bolder, it's fresher, it definitely has some fruity elements to it. This one is much darker and richer. So obviously, I mean, you know your flavor profile more than I know your flavor profile, so that gives you an idea of what I think you should go between those two. But with that, let's go back to glass number 2. Again, this is the one that I think is the double barrel blend. It might not be the double barrel blend. It's really toasty. This is really smelling hot. I don't think this could be 110 proof. I don't think this could even be 120. I mean, the Parker's double barrel blend is 132.2 and it tastes and smells 132.2. That's why I think this probably is it. But let's take a sip. Delicious. Delicious. So good. When you put it next to that, what I think is the rye, you have those toasted elements to it, but you have more punch on this one. And then you have vanilla and caramel and cherry, as opposed to just kind of like a light rye note on it. Now, I mean, that's way better than glass number 3. I would rate the Parker's Double Barrel, I think, is what it is. I would rate that an 8.8. I mean, this just gets better and better as I try it more often. I love this whiskey. I think for $600, it's honestly just worth it. I am happy I bought this for $600. I'm not running out and buying too many more of them at that price, but at $600, I'm happy. I would rate what I think is the rye glass number 3 at 8.3. I think it's very good, but it's a different league here. Let's go back to glass 4, and then we'll go to glass 1. Glass number 4 here. Still a bit citrusy, still pretty light relative to 1 and 2. Let's take a sip. Okay, there is a nice richness on that. There's a really nice richness on that. Really nice soft caramels on that and vanilla on that. And you get the Heaven Hill oak on that. Man, that's good. That's a delicious whiskey. To be clear, I mean, I'd pay $400 for this bottle. I mean, that really is that good. I don't think I like it as much as glass 2, though. I mean, I think glass 2 is just better. It's definitely better than glass 3. I mean, this is more complex than glass 3. I think it's really hitting a lot of elements on it. It has nice depth. It has nice complexity on it, but it's not as punchy as I think glass 1 and 2 are. The finish isn't as long. And the flavor profile, I mean, the complexity that's driving this force is really a lot of citrus. And I just don't love citrus as much as I like a lot of the other notes that I've named here. So I'll take this last little bit here. We'll give it a rating. We'll go back to glass number 1. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great. I'm going to rate that an 8.6, which is to say, I think glass number 2 is a good bit better. But let's go back to glass number 1. Okay, super sweet on the nose. I mean, this is real oak and very strong vanilla on this. Even more vanilla than glass number 2. And glass number 2 has a lot of vanilla on it, but this has even more. Let's take a sip. Man, I don't know what it is about that like dusty element in the front palate. And then it gets into this really nice cherry, really nice oak. I mean, it's going to be tough to pick a favorite between 1 and 2. Oh, wow. I really like both of these whiskeys. They're so different from each other. Glass number 2 is more tannic. It's hotter. Sometimes you don't want that kind of heat. Sometimes you don't want that much tannin in your whiskey. I can see why some people may prefer glass number 1 to glass number 2. Glass number 1, on the other hand, it's slightly less robust. It's slightly less complex. It's less punchy, which, again, could be a con. I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. I'll take this last little bit here. Let's give it a rating. That's awesome. I'm rating that an 8.8 as well. I think that's... I'm going to take the glass number 2 above it. But honestly, day to day, I could totally 100% see picking glass number 1. I think if somebody wants to go find in the comments and say that they like glass number 1 more, I'm with you. You can convince me. I mean, they really are that close. They're super different. They're totally different vibes to them. But man, okay, let's take this last little bit here of glass number 2, and then let's find out what we're having. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so we have glass number 3 in last, glass number 4 in third place, then we have glass number 1, and then glass number 2. All right, let's check the results. So I have glass number 3 here is what we are going to check first here. Glass number 3 is the rye. Okay, yeah, not super surprising here. I think it's great. I think it's a very, very solid rye. But honestly, I mean, there's just, I don't know, not a ton going on it. I mean, I don't know. I like the glass number 3, but meh. I mean, there's just better stuff on this flight. Let's check glass number 4. Glass number 4 is going to be the Heavy Char Bourbon. Okay, we predicted this pretty well. I think this is DBB. I think this is wheat. Glass number 1 here is going to be the wheat. Okay, cool. So the Parker's Double Barrel Blend is our winner. Oh, I dropped the paper. I guess that doesn't matter. This is our winner here. Double Barrel Blend. Yeah, that's really interesting here. I mean, look, I really like the rye. I really like the wheat. Man, that wheat is nice. I mean, but honestly, the Heavy Char Bourbon, nearly as good. Really, really nice here as well. It's just a little bit softer. I mean, it is a little bit softer here. I guess it's technically 2 proof lower than the wheat, so I don't know. I don't think you could really taste that much of a difference between them on the heat side of things, but I like that richness on it. I like that kind of almost dusty element on that wheat. That's really, really good here. And then, yeah, the rye's good. The rye's good, but I'm not totally sold on it. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this. This is Parker's for you. Obviously, Double Barrel Blend is doing really, really well. I'm very happy with my purchase of that bottle, but we're going to keep going with Parker's videos. I mean, I have some more samples of Parker's. We'll eventually, hopefully, try them all here on the channel, and maybe after a few reviews of different Parker's, we may even do a review where we try all of them at once. That might be a few months away, but hopefully we'll get to there one day. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.